This week's video is on the number 7 in the Bible. You might be surprised to learn that the number 7 appears in both the Old and New Testaments more than 700 times. Now this includes the words 7, sevens, and 70. Hello, I'm Kathy Bartow. Dolores Smith wrote an article titled, "What does the number 7 mean in the Bible and why is it important?" It was published on the Christianity.com website and updated on July 8th, 2024. And I quote, "From the 7 days of creation to the many sevens in Revelation, the number 7 connotes such concepts as completion and perfection, exoneration and healing, and the fulfillment of promises and oaths." End of quote. Let's look at the following sevens. Creation, Jesus healing on the Sabbath, Jesus telling Peter how many times we are to forgive each other, and Jesus' final statements on the cross. Now, the first 7 that appears in the Bible is the story of creation, and it's found in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Day 1, God created light and divided it from the darkness. Day 2, God created the atmosphere and divided it from the oceans. Day 3, God created the land and divided it from water. He also created vegetation. Day 4, God created the sun, moon, and stars to fill the sky. Day 5, God created creatures to fill the sky and the waters. Day 6, God created creatures to fill the land, and God created man in his image. Day 7, God rested from all his work. God's work was complete, and God's work was perfect. Listen to Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. "And so the whole universe was completed. By the 7th day, God finished what he had been doing and stopped working. He blessed the 7th day and set it apart as a special day, because by that day he had completed his creation and stopped working." And that is how the universe was created. Now, Jesus performed healing miracles for 7 people on the Sabbath, the 7th day. The Pharisees were horrified that Jesus would perform work on this holy day. Matthew chapter 12, verses 9 through 12. "Going on from that place, he went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Looking for a reason to bring charges against Jesus, they asked him, 'Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?' Jesus said to them, 'If any of you has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a person than a sheep? Therefore, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath.' Then he said to the man, 'Stretch out your hand.' So he stretched it out, and it was completely restored, just as sound as the other." Here are 6 other examples of Jesus' healing on the Sabbath. Mark chapter 1, verse 23. A man possessed by an unclean spirit. Mark chapter 1, verse 29. Peter's mother-in-law with a fever. Luke chapter 13, verse 10. A woman crippled by a spirit. Luke chapter 14, verse 1. A man with abnormal swelling of his body. John chapter 5, verse 5. A lame man by the pool of Bethesda. John chapter 9, verse 1. A man born blind. Now, in the Lord's Prayer, Jesus teaches us to forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Forgiveness is who we are as Christians. Listen to the conversation that Peter had with Jesus on the subject of forgiveness. It's found in Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 through 36. Then Peter came up and said to him, "Lord, how many times shall my brother sin against me and I still forgive him? Up to 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 77 times. Jesus continued then by telling this parable. For this reason, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his slaves. And when he had begun to settle them, one who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him. But since he did not have the means to repay, his master commanded that he be sold, along with his wife and children and all that he had, and repayment be made. So the slave fell to the ground and prostrated himself, saying, Have patience with me, and I will repay you everything. And the master of that slave felt compassion, and he released him and forgave him the debt. But that slave went out and found one of his fellow slaves who owed him 100 denarii. And he seized him and began to choke him, saying, Pay back what you owe. So his fellow slave fell to the ground and began to plead with him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will repay you. But he was unwilling and went and threw him in prison until he would pay back what was owed. So when his fellow slaves saw what had happened, they were deeply grieved and came and reported to their master all that had happened. Then summoning him, his master said to him, You wicked slave, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. Should you not have also had mercy on your fellow slave in the same way that I had mercy on you? And his master, moved with anger, handed him over to the torturers until he would repay all that was owed him. My heavenly Father will also do the same to you if each of you does not forgive his brother from your heart. And on Good Friday, while Jesus hung on the cross dying, he uttered 7 statements. Luke chapter 23, verse 34. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke chapter 23, verse 43. Truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. John chapter 9, verse 26. Woman, behold your son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. Matthew 27, verse 46. My God, why have you forsaken me? John chapter 19, verse 28. I thirst. John chapter 19, verse 30. It is finished. The Greek word for this is tetelestai. And Luke chapter 23, verse 46. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Jesus' body was broken for us on that cross, and his precious blood was spilt. It was the blood of the new covenant between Jesus and his believers. Jesus told us at the Last Supper to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Praise be to God. Till next time, peace be with you.